All right, let's go ahead and begin. So I want to welcome everybody. I'm Andy Rich. I'm the Dean of the Colin Powell School. It's great to see everybody as we gear up for the new semester. I know we have a combination of brand new students to City College and to the Colin Powell School, as well as returning students, old hands, everybody, folks who have been through many of a semester at City College before. We wanted to take this chance just to come together to make sure that you had a chance to hear about some important opportunities that are available for all of the students at the Colin Powell School, and then to have a deeper conversation about how to make the most of online instruction. You know, we are on what we hope and believe to be the back end of a pandemic that forced us in a week's time to move off campus last spring, right in the middle of the semester. And for those of you who are here, you know what a challenge that was for all of us, but we did it. And our faculty retooled on the spot to make the courses that semester, I think, finish in as strong a way as you could imagine. And then we spent a great deal of time, all of our instructors and our faculty and our staff, reorganizing in ways to make sure that we were prepared to offer as strong of an online instructional and overall student experience possible last fall. And now we're ready to do it again. We actually have just finished offering the largest winter term that the Colin Powell School has ever offered. We think mostly successfully, which is exciting and good. And now we're heading into the spring and wanted to both welcome you and also just have some conversations about what you can expect. I can tell you this, that we are ready to go. We have, I think, over the course of the last 9 months, really refined not only how to offer online instruction in a strong way, but also, I really do believe, offer the entire kind of Colin Powell School student experience in a strong fashion. And so want to acquaint you both with a conversation about the instruction, but also about the kind of larger ways that you as students can more fully engage in the Colin Powell School. And I would say central to, at least from my perspective, is the opportunity for you to use your time while you are studying this semester and while we're online to think about your career, to think about what you want to do when you finish your degree. And I know for many of you, that's always on your mind. You're thinking about, how does this all add up into something that's going to actually get me an opportunity at the back end of school? I just want to invite all of you, no matter where you are, even if you're at the very beginning as a freshman, and I'm not trying to stress you out, but just to take the opportunity with us this semester while we're online and then going forward to think about, well, what would I like to do? And if your answer on that question is, I have no idea, that's totally okay. It's absolutely fine, because part of what we want to make available to you in your time as a student at the Colin Powell School is the chance to participate in workshops, in meetings, in information sessions, in internships, in fellowships, in research opportunities, so that you can try different things out, be part of different conversations, and then at least be a little bit closer to clarity on what you want to do by the time you reach the end of your degree. So the invitation today is not only to think about, as you head into the new semester, how you want to engage your instruction and your education, but also how you want to engage extracurricularly with us and think about your professional future. Not in a way, as I say, that adds any stress, but instead hopefully kind of puts you ahead of the game when you're ready to take advantage of opportunities. And if you want to think about those things with us, what I can tell you is you have come to the right place, because the Colin Powell School offers a kind of broader range of career and professional development opportunities, of fellowships, of partnerships, and of events tied to all of those things than I suspect any other part of the college. But in order for you to get the benefit of them, you have to apply for them. You have to participate. You have to sign up. And so you've all taken the first step in many ways, and many of you are well past the first step. But by being here, you're showing an inclination in those directions. And I guess what we hope is that you'll learn more about what's available in the course of the conversation today, and then take advantage of some of that as we move forward. So that's the large goals for today's session. I also want to remind you, or let you know, if it's the first time you're hearing this, that we're also here to support you in every way imaginable so that you can be successful, both as a student and in your development as a person. And we know this is a really difficult time. This is probably one of the most difficult times I've seen in my lifetime for all of us. And for many of you, it is, I'm sure, a very difficult time for yourself and for your family. And in a few minutes, I'm going to share in the chat space a Google Doc, a link to a Google Doc that has a whole host of resources that we have identified that are available to students to take advantage of in this difficult moment. And I want to just make sure you're all aware that City College has a food pantry, and all Cuny campuses have food pantries that are available to all of our students and our staff and our faculty throughout this pandemic and beyond. You don't have to come to City College, but if you have food needs, you can go to any Cuny campus and as a City College student, take advantage of it. At the Colin Powell School, we have an emergency fund, which is available to help students who have immediate needs to help pay for necessities or other things that have come up. Many of our students have taken advantage of that during the pandemic. And if that's a need you have, you should know it's available. My colleague, Charlene Darbasi, who's on here, oversees that program for us and can share the application. And you can always email me if you have questions on that front. And then there's a range of mental health services that we have available for students all the time, but even beefed up and more available during the course of the pandemic. And so alongside your instruction, your professional development, we really care about you as individuals and your abilities to make sure you have what you need in order to do okay in school and to do okay in life. So that's the context for today's session. We're joined by a number of my colleagues from the Colin Powell School, many of whom you'll see on here with their cameras on. You're not going to get a chance to hear from all of them, but I do want you to take note of them, including Associate Dean Kevin Foster, Charlene Darbasi, who's the Administrative Manager for the Colin Powell School. And I want to turn it over briefly to Herbert Signoret, who is the Director of our Office of Academic Advising and is joined today by his colleagues in our advising office to share a few updates.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Colin Powell School. Those who of you are new and those who are continuing, welcome back. We are very excited to have you back for the new semester. As Dean Rich mentioned, we have a dedicated staff who are here to support you. We have developed a learning community that is very supportive to students' needs, both in terms of their academic needs and developing their professional goals going forward. We're not just here to see you just get grades, but we want you to excel in what you do, to go beyond the limits that others might expect of you. We expect much more of you, so the sky is the limit for you, and we are here to support you in whatever way we can. Dr. Moran, Donza, and Valerie, experienced staff, but not only experienced, they care about students' growth and development and are here to help you in whatever way we can. For the first week of classes, we know it's very hectic. Students are adding and dropping classes. So we'll have a system of virtual office hours. So if you need to get in touch with us, we will be able to see you on a limited basis, maybe 5-10 minutes, so we can iron out whatever issues that you might be facing. Because there's always the issue of if you register for a class late, it might not be available on Blackboard immediately. There's a lag between when you register for class and it being available on Blackboard. So if you have those sort of issues, we are here to try and iron out these issues. If there are issues with over tallies, we are here to support you and guide you to put you in touch with the right people who can get you through these issues. So you can log on to us through the information in terms of when we'll have virtual hours will be posted on the website. So just to go to the Colin Powell website and look for the advisor's office, and that information will be posted. Again, welcome to the Colin Powell School and welcome back.
Thank you very much. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Professor Deborah Vitsa, a member of our psychology department. Professor Vitsa is an expert on psychometrics and evaluation, and a lot of her work is focused on understanding and preventing racism and prejudice and the psychology of cultural and ethnic identity. All of that is relevant to all of you as you think about taking courses with Professor Vitsa, but she is also an expert at teaching online and has been actually teaching courses online since long before the pandemic, and has been a real resource for colleagues, our faculty, as they've been thinking through how to move their courses online and how to make the most of that. And in putting together today's session, she was kind enough to offer to share some lessons from her long experience as an instructor online with all of you for how to make the most of the experience. And so I want to turn it over to Professor Vitsa. Thank you very much for being here. Oh, and you're muted. You're muted. We got on mute.
Thank you, Dean Rich. I'm very excited to be here. I did my workup this morning. I know that I am seeing our most courageous and committed students this morning because you all are here to hear about how you can be successful. And that just warms my heart, because one of the reasons that I decided to be a university professor is because I wanted to be a bridge from students' dreams to the reality of their success. So I'm really glad that you're here, and I'm going to share some things with you that I've learned over the years teaching, because I've been teaching for 40 years, but about 10 of those I've been teaching online. So a little caveat, much of what I'm going to share with you is actually applicable to any kind of course you're taking. But the things I have chosen to really focus on are things that are going to help you be the best online student you can be. And so to get started, I'm going to do a screen share and start working with you with my presentation. So this should work. Let's see. Are we able to see the screen? Not yet.
I see that you have started to screen share, but we don't see it yet.
Okay.
I don't. If anyone else
Let
does.
me try it again. This happens to me in class too, so be.
Well, we got a notice. Somebody just shared with me that Verizon, Zoom, and Slack, as well as Gmail, are all having slowdowns today. So let's see if that's.
Oh.
So let's see. We'll give it another shot.
All right, let's try it again. How about now?
Yes.
You're seeing it.
We see it.
So there are some stepping stones here. And my purpose today is to help you go from this stone all the way through to your landing in May 2021. And let me get started. I don't know you, but I know that you take your education very seriously. You want to succeed. You're brave and determined. And believe me, I know, as well as all of the faculty know, how difficult this social isolation has been. We have been sensitized to how difficult it is to maintain your internet connections, to have to live in sort of sometimes cramped conditions where your fourth grade sibling and your middle school sibling are all working together and you're just listening to it, and there's construction outside and all sorts of things happen. So we are sensitized to that. And we want you to be able to be successful despite these obstacles that you have to overcome. Online learning is challenging. We have to admit that and accept that up front, because it is a different way of learning. And at the end of this, when we get nearer to the May stepping stone, I'll tell you a little bit about why online learning can be an advantage to you. It sort of relates to some of the things that the dean was saying to us this morning. Here's what I'm going to share today. Tips on online success in a course. I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into general success and how that relates to your online learning. I'm going to talk a little bit about what you should expect from your instructors. And then I'll finish up with some of the advantages of online learning. So what do successful online learning students, what are their characteristics? Well, they are open-minded. They are focused on improving their communication, and they are disciplined. Open-mindedness, good communication, and being disciplined are key to being successful as an online student. What does being open-minded mean? Well, you have a willingness to share your life experiences, what you've previously learned, whether it's from a course or from your own experiences, and you're willing to share your work experiences. We know as faculty here that our students many of them have to work 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours a week, and they're committed to learning. But if you have work experiences, many of the courses in the Colin Powell School especially, your instructors are interested in that experience. So being open, like these young children are jumping and playing and sharing, that openness is welcomed in the classroom. Focus on your communication. As City College students, all of the faculty want to stress how much more successful you're going to be if you focus on writing, your oral communication skills, and being able to interpret graphics and data. And the online environment gives you an opportunity, a little advantage actually in the opportunity to share your writing, to share oral expression in some of your courses, and to work on interpreting graphics and data. These are really good skills to have, not only for college success, but for success in the workplace. And I have found that my online students who write in the chat box, who aren't shy about doing low stakes writing when I give an assignment and I say, okay, this isn't going to be graded, but I would like you to do X. Or when you go into your small group online, the breakout room, I would like you all to work on giving me 2 or 3 paragraphs on this. The more you work on that, the more you're willing to express yourselves in this digital environment, the better and stronger you're going to become as an online student, but also you're strengthening your skills for the workplace. Now, being disciplined, well, that seems like an obvious one, but here's something I want to stress about being disciplined. Many people think that what you have to focus on to be disciplined is that you have to have willpower. You have to just make yourself do it. And unfortunately, we know from a lot of research in psychology that willpower just doesn't really work. It especially breaks down when you're under stress. When you're under stress, willpower is virtually gone. Here's what you have to do to be successful, especially in an online course. You have to set particular goals. Many times you set these goals for the day, you set the goals for the week, and you make adjustments. You have to also plan how you're going to execute the goals. You can't just have the goal. You have to say, here's my goal for today. I'm going to read chapter 15. But then you have to have a plan for how you're going to execute that. Well, I'm going to go to this room at 4 o'clock and I'm going to spend an hour and a half reading the chapter. And what's your next move going to be? There has to be an implementation plan. Remove temptations. We also know in an online environment, and if you're working online a lot, that playing lyrics with words, music with words, interferes with your ability to concentrate and think. So if you're going to play music that is soothing to your nervous system, play music that doesn't have lyrics. And you could play music with a language you don't understand. Like sometimes I listen to Spanish because I don't speak Spanish very well, or I might listen to something in Arabic, but I wouldn't listen to something in English because that would interfere with my cognitive processes. So remove temptations, turn your phone off, don't have your game system near you, and so on. And also always know you have to have a backup plan. If your day doesn't go well, that doesn't mean that the next day can't go well. One of my mantras in the morning when I get up is, it's another day, you have another opportunity to implement your goals. And as all of your professors and all of the staff and all of the wonderful people here at the college who support you will tell you, never, never, never give up. Open-mindedness, communication, and discipline. Now here's a little deeper dive on success. Speak up if problems arise, and always create collaboration for yourself. Some of the research that I've done on student learning over my career shows that the students who form learning collaboratives, who work together, and this is sometimes because of cultural background. Some students are taught working together is better than being an individual. Some students are raised in families that say you have to do everything on your own. It's best to pull up your bootstraps and get it done. Well, that is not always the key to success. When Steve Jobs invented all the wonderful things he invented, he did not do them on his own. He did them with a team. So one of the keys to success is being able to collaborate. If a problem arises, speak up. Think before you speak, read before you think, but the important thing to do if you have a problem is to let your professors know that you're having a problem. Sometimes you have to find allies. You have to find some other people who are having the problem. Write down what you want to say before you speak to the instructor. That will help you communicate better. Explain to the instructor why you think this problem is interfering with what you can learn. Why is this problem important? And then practice speaking what you want to say. Before you go into a meeting with an instructor to talk about a problem, it's a good idea to practice it. But don't fail to speak up, because the more you speak up, the more you're going to deepen your learning experience, and the instructor is going to have an opportunity to help you with difficulties in the online environment. Now back to collaboration. Here's a Ghanaian proverb that I think is really interesting for this. And if you look at the little creatures here, you can see they're all wearing a mask. It's kind of hard to see because the masks are black, but they all are in a group and they all are wearing a mask. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with other people. And if you want to be the most successful student, especially in your courses that are challenging, as soon as the semester gets started, find a group, a small group that will be your, what I call them in my courses, study buddies. You find a group, you mesh with that group. If you all do your homework together, if it's 10 math problems and everyone does 2, and you check out all your answers, more than likely you're all 5 going to get 100% on that homework, rather than you doing it on your own and maybe getting 4 right or 5 right. The smartest students who, I shouldn't say the smartest, I really should say the most successful. The students who get the A's and who do well are usually the students who don't try to go it alone. And especially in an online course, because you're already isolated, you need to find a way of communicating. I purposely give my students opportunities to form groups, but if an instructor doesn't do that for you, do it on your own, because it is going to make you much more successful. Now, what should you expect from your instructor? Well, here at City College, we pride ourselves on giving our students our best and giving our students the best instruction and pedagogy that we can. However, you should remember that we are not all experts, and we need your patience. So the way we extend our patience to you, you need to extend that patience to us, because things will go wrong. I have mornings where I can't get the screen share to work immediately. I have some times where the breakout rooms don't go exactly the way I plan. I get everything all set up and I have my breakout rooms ready, and 5 students come in late. And then I have to scramble. What am I going to do with them? How is this going to work? So you need to be patient, because we're not all experts. And even if we are, this is difficult. Just like it's difficult for you, it can be difficult for us. We have different levels of online training, as the dean said, and we all have different levels of teaching experience. I've been teaching for 40 years, but some of my colleagues have been teaching for 2 years or 3 years, and they're learning as they teach. They want to give you the very best, but they are learning. So you have to remember that. You can help them also by asking questions. That's the best way to help an instructor become a good instructor, is to not hold back on your questions. We want you to succeed. Your project and problems are important to us. So if you don't tell us about them, if you don't tell us about your projects and we can't help consult with you, if you don't tell us about your problems, we can't help you. So it's important that you do that. And we want to help you. Remember, the way you seek help is to go to your your instructor during office hours. We all hold office hours. Share what you need help with, and the instructor will help you find that help. And you can also go to the Collin Powell School website and use some of the resources there. Our instructors keep information on their Blackboard sites or whatever platform they're using to share information about the course. So you can always find help. And again, this is a reason to have a study group or study buddies, 1 or 2 people that you can check out information with before you conclude that you can't solve your problem. So what are some of the advantages of online teaching? Well, this may be hard to believe, but IBM has done quite a bit of research on online teaching, and they find that participants in online teaching are about 5 times more, learn 5 times more material in an online course than they do in other kind of courses. Now, your ability to learn more in your online environment is going to depend on you implementing some of the success tips that I mentioned to you, but you should know that there are some cognitive and learning advantages to working online. And the second thing I want to emphasize is online platforms are the wave of your future. We are not going to be going backward and getting off of online platforms so we can do more face-to-face work. You're going to be interviewed online. You're going to have a presence in this sort of Zoom environment, in other environments where you're going to have to learn how to present yourself visually. Some of you, I understand, are very shy about showing yourselves visually, and there's good reasons for that. You're not able to do that because of situations where you're living, and it's totally fine that you don't use your video. But I would suggest that you try to sometimes think about if you can put yourself in a situation where you can become more comfortable having a visual presence online. It's going to help you to be more comfortable when you're presented with a lab opportunity or a job opportunity or an internship where somebody wants to interview you online, and realize you're building skills to build your community. You're building these skills to build your entree into the workforce. That's what I meant to say. So try it out. In my courses, I find that when I give students projects where they have to present to the rest of the course, in the course meeting, they have to present to their peers, they sometimes will take that as an opportunity to find a way that they can present themselves visually. So you're not expected to do it all the time, but I encourage you to think about how you might do it occasionally, because it is to your advantage. So we're going to get to this place where we come to the end of the semester. And here's my suggestion for you in planning. The last day of the semester is the 25th. Grades have to be to the register, I'm told, and I believe I have this straight, Friday, May 28th. You should start your plan backwards and go all the way forward, telling yourself and implementing a plan so that you can get from the first day of class to the last day of class, knowing that you're going to land on this goal by the 25th, And all of your work is going to be completed according to your syllabi in terms of deadlines you have. So don't try to wait until the end of the semester to realize what kind of milestones you have to develop for yourself in order to be able to successfully complete the semester. I wish you all every success. I am going to be pulling for you. All of the faculty is going to be pulling for you. And I am a psych advisor. My students call me Dr. V because Vitsa is kind of a mouthful. So if you want to come and see me as a Colin Powell School advisor in psychology, I welcome you. And thank you, Dean Rich, for this opportunity. Ciao.
Thank you very much. That was reassuring. It was incredibly helpful and practical, and just fantastic. Are there any questions from students before we move on to we have now a panel of students who I've invited to share some of their top tips for how to take advantage of online instruction. But any questions for Professor Vitsa before we move on?
Oh, I'm getting a lot of chats saying thank you.
Good, I see them too. That's really nice.
Nice.
That was wonderful.
Dean Rick, I have a question.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Dr. V. I learned so much. I really appreciate this workshop.
You're welcome.
My question is, the last thing you mentioned was to set milestones and how to look back and visualize your goals from the last day of school backwards. How do I know I'm setting the right milestones?
Well, this is how you analyze that. You have to look at your syllabus and see what your major assignments are. Look at the due dates. What are the assignments? Then you try to calculate how much time do I think this assignment will take. Now, often when I give students an assignment, I don't tell them how long it should be. A lot of students want to know, how many pages do you want to see? Well, especially in my more advanced courses, I say that's something you're going to have to figure out. But I don't expect you to spend more than 3 hours doing this. So you have to kind of guess, how much time do I think it's going to take me to prepare for this exam and take the exam? Or if there's an essay that you have to write, how much time do I think I need to do the research, to organize a draft, to reread the draft? Because remember, if you turn in a draft that hasn't been rewritten by yourself or edited, it's just like getting on the subway in your pajamas. Most people can see that you didn't edit this and that you just threw it at me and you didn't self-edit it at all. So you have to build that time in as well. So you think about the number of hours. That's how you set your milestones. This paper is due on April 3rd. It's going to take me at least 5 hours to do this work. When am I going to do it? How do I set those milestones? When am I going to work on this particular assignment? And if you can gauge that before the semester begins, you're going to be able to be much more successful at hitting your targets.
Great, thank you. We're going to take one more question and then we will hear from our students. Colson.
Hi, Dr. V. My question was, can you give us some advice on time management?
Well, you have to manage yourself. That's the first thing I'll say. You can't manage time. It's like a river. It's flowing all around you. You can't manage time, but you have to manage yourself, meaning you have to plan your day. And there are many apps that will allow you to do this. You plan your day, you adjust your day when things don't work as well as you thought, but you have to decide, I'm going to do this on Mondays and I'm going to do this on Tuesdays. That's the only way that you have to develop a plan and follow the plan. You have to be the one to manage what you do, what you execute. And I can help more with that. I may do some videos on this and how you manage yourself, but that's the general assumption. Don't think that you're managing time. Change your focus to, I have to manage what I do day by day, hour by hour.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vitsa. Thank you. That great advice. And as I mentioned in the chat, we will have a recording of this, which we'll share with all of you and with others, actually, all of our students. So you'll get a chance to review it and think more deeply about the advice that Dr. Vitsa has shared. I now want to introduce 3 students from the Colin Powell School who we've invited to share a little bit about their experiences with online instruction and some tips with each of you from their experiences. And each of them has had the opportunity to take advantage of additional fellowships, internships, additional offerings that the Colin Powell School has. And I hope they might speak about that just a little bit too, with the hope that you all too will take advantage of these opportunities. So I want to introduce Katie Hernandez. Katie is an international studies and art history major, and she is a Colin Powell Fellow, which is our fellowship to support students who are committed to and interested in public service. I also want to introduce Monica Martinez Raga, who is an economics and French major, and who has had a range of experiences across the college, including taking advantage of some of our private sector partnerships, both with Santander Bank and then with Standard Chartered Bank. And she'll be able to tell you about those opportunities. And then Gabriel Reyes, who is a political science major. He was a student in our semester in Washington, D.C. program. He is a student in our S.J. Levy program, and he can tell you a little bit about what that is. And he is now a student in our Racial Justice Fellows program. So I'm really pleased to have all three of them with us today. And I've asked each of them to share 3 or 4 tips with each of you. And let me ask Katie to go first.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Katie, as I was just introduced as, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of perspective from what I've learned going through this process of online learning, and what I've learned about making connections and building a network, because I feel that's the most important thing for me when looking for opportunities. So I have found that the most important thing that you can do when you're online learning is to make connections with your professors. And Dr. V talked a lot about that, but I think it's important to find mentorship. The professors at City College are always looking to help you. They're professors because they want to make connections with students and to mentor you and to get you the opportunities you need. So you really need to be active in speaking in class. And I know that's hard for some people to put yourself out there and speak to a bunch of people online. It can feel like you're speaking into the void sometimes, especially when people don't have their cameras on. But it's really important to make your voice heard. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in every single class that you're doing that. You kind of, when you're working online, it can be very difficult to focus your attention and be completely present in every single class that you're in. You should be. I should put that out there, that you should be present in every single class, but life can get in the way. It can be very difficult to focus sometimes. You might be depressed, you might be anxious. So really pick classes where you feel a connection to the professor. They've talked about doing things that you're really interested in. I'm doing anthropology, so some of my professors have talked about doing really interesting projects abroad that I'm like, wow, I might be really interested in that. Look for those types of professors, right? And then focus on building connections with them. Speak the most in their classes. If you're uncomfortable doing that, that's what's great about having the chat feature. Make sure that they know your name and recognize you and are able to say, Katie's talking again. I love what she's saying about this. She brought this up last week. I'd love to talk more about it. Make sure you're a presence in the class and that they know who you are. Even if you're not comfortable speaking in the class, either chatting or typing, maybe if you're looking online and you see a really interesting YouTube video or video essay about something you've learned in class, send it to the professor and be like, wow, this really relates to what we were learning. If you want to talk about it in class, or maybe you just are interested in it, that really shows to them that you're interested in who they are and what they're doing, and really helps to start to build a relationship of mentorship. Professors at City College are also some of the most well-connected people that I know, just from working in Cuny and having experience in their field. So you want to listen to what the stories they bring up in class, and see if there's anything you're personally interested in that maybe they could connect you to someone in the field. Zoom interviews and informational interviews are a great way to connect to people. and learn more about what they're doing. Professor Chang is my professor for my Colin Powell Fellowship, which is an amazing fellowship, which I'm going to talk a bit more about in a sec. But she actually connected me to a museum in San Diego that I was really interested in working at. And I got to speak to the director of the museum just over Zoom. And people are very interested in doing Zoom interviews because they just have more time now to speak and help you. So I think getting connected to professors and building a network with them is the first way that you can make the most out of online learning. The second that I think is very important is to read your emails. Read every single email that you get from the Colin Powell School and from Cuny. A lot of times, you know, they can build up in your inbox and you just don't look at them, and it can be a lot. But every week, Cuny sends out an email that has internship opportunities, work that you could do, scholarships you could win, events, and they have a list there for you to look at and to find anything you're interested in. And I think so many of those opportunities go unnoticed just because no one is looking at them, and they're not as competitive as you would think they were. So don't be too discouraged from trying to get those opportunities. So I'm a Colin Powell Fellow, and that means that I do a weekly seminar class, and that comes with either a stipend or a scholarship, depending on what your situation is and if you're already if you already have a scholarship to college. It's an amazing opportunity to learn about public policy if that's what you're interested in. And it's such a broad perspective. And it really gets, every week we do a different subject, whether it's environmental racism, so many different subjects that even if you think you might not be interested in government or politics, there's so many different avenues for you to look at when you're looking at the Colin Powell Fellowship. I highly recommend it if you're interested in doing public advocacy or work. I'm also a Cuny Cultural Corps member, and all of these I learned through emails. That's the broad perspective. I learned about through emails from the Colin Powell School or from Cuny. So Cuny Cultural Corps is a paid internship that you can apply for through Cuny at any cultural institution in the city that they're connected with. So I'm currently working at a gallery in Brooklyn through that, which I learned about through an email. And then they also do Cuny Service Corps, which is service opportunities in the city. So I highly recommend you looking out for those. But there's so many things that pass through these emails that go unnoticed, and also events. There's plenty of events that have authors who are coming to speak to Cuny students, or panels, and so many things that you could be interested in, and building your network and asking questions of people with them. So important that you attend those events. And then my final piece of advice of making the most of online learning is don't study where you sleep. This is a very, this might be diverging from what I was talking about before, but having the separation of where you do your work and where you take your rest is so important. Even if I know a lot of people have siblings and they can't get out of their rooms, try and bring a chair into your room. Just don't try to stay off of Zoom when you're in bed. I can't tell you how many times I've woken up in the middle of the night writing an essay in my head while I'm trying to sleep, just because there's no separation between where I relax and where I do my work. So just try and have a distinct separation, and that's something simple that you can do that can make a really big impact on how your work goes. So I'm sorry if I took too much time to speak if I went over time, but that's my advice.
Katie, that was fantastic. All of it. Thank you very, very much. Let me turn it over to Monica.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Welcome to City College for transfer students. I also started a spring semester in 2018, so I know it can be a little bit scary, but no worries. I have some pieces of advice as well. I just graduated, so last semester was my last one, but I took Dean Foster's class, so it was probably one of the hardest. So here are some of the things that helped me succeed. First of all, organize to me is the number one thing. It has taken me, and I still think it's a learning process, a lot of time to learn time management, because every time situations change, you need to adjust and be flexible, like Dr. V mentioned. So something that I do is pre-plan before the semester starts, before the week starts, even sometimes before the day starts. I downloaded a PDF of a weekly calendar. I write everything, because you're gonna find that every professor uses different platforms to communicate changes. Sometimes uploading every week a new syllabus to Blackboard, or just announcing something via email, or using Slack or some other thing. So like Katie mentioned, you really need to be on top of those messages and those notifications, and they can really slip through the cracks. So have your journal or in your phone or like a notebook, whatever works best for you. Read ahead before class. I know this sounds kind of geeky, but it's literally the best way to make use of your class time, because I feel like there's a temptation, and it happened to me in the spring semester, to kind of cook or do something while class is on, and then be like, oh, I'm gonna have time later to learn. And actually, no, like I feel like class time, take that opportunity to learn so that later you can study instead of having to, do everything by yourself, because self-teaching is not the best way to learn for everybody. So, if you read ahead, you come like with targeted questions, you become visible, the professor knows you've been doing your work, and that only opens up like more opportunity and success for you. Find a study nook for sure, no distractions. I don't eat in my dining table anymore. That's one of the things we've needed to change, because in my household, there's 2 people working from home / studying. So our dining table is kind of our place where this is where we study, no distractions, again, so that you can really use that class time. And the other thing you really want to keep on top of are the opportunities. I've been able actually to be part of what Katie mentioned, the Cuny Service Corps, Cuny Investment Industry Fellowship. I was successful in interviews with several banks, and this is not to show off. This is literally because a lot of people don't apply, and if you apply, you will just, by being here and opting into these opportunities, you're really going to put yourself out there. Because I'm also looking for these, I read all my emails. I read Dean Rich's weekly newsletter. I follow Deborah and Ashif on LinkedIn. You know what I mean? I'm still checking every single day, like everything that's going on, to see what works best for me. Because believe me, City College is full of opportunities. The other thing, reach out, ask for help, ask questions to your professors, give respectful, suggestions to professors as well, because they are trying new things. Like Dr. V mentioned, this is hard for them. They also have several classes, several students. I had one professor last year who was like, please don't email me. I'm like, I don't even have control of my email anymore, So class time and office hours were super key with that professor. And that really is only going to help you, because I won't be starting a job soon if it weren't for my professors. They really are who best know what's going on, who will write recommendations for you, who will remember you when opportunities arise, who will notify you and remind you to like apply to stuff. And it's really key, and it even helps you create a community of you'll find via these professors, other students who are like-minded and have those ambitions as well. And finally, something that I feel like we probably all struggle with, I definitely did. I remember finals week last semester, I was really struggling with motivation because the world seemed like it was cracking down, So just keep your goals visible. Remember why you're doing this. Remember that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This is what Cuny is about. Propel us into the world, make us successful, and just put us in the radar. So you really need to remember, I remember like I was doing yoga and I try to meditate or take like a writing class every week and just remember, okay, I really want this job, or, you know, there's a lot of good things now in 2021 to look forward to. The bank that I'm going to start working in this year just announced that they're going to have flexible work from home for the rest of their life, you know? So I'm looking forward to that. Now I'm excited about starting work. I was excited about finishing Dean Foster's final, just thinking, wow, I'm so glad I'm gonna graduate, you know, and go into the world more independent and, you know, thriving, especially in this economy. So yeah, these are kind of my advice for studying, and I wish you the best of luck.
Monica, thank you very, very much. That was great. And congratulations on finishing your degree. Really helpful advice and wonderful to celebrate you. And Gabriel.
Hey everyone, it's Gabriel. Nice to see so many of you here. You know, sometimes when you share last, you run out of ideas because everyone said what you wanted to say. But no, those were all great pieces of advice. I guess for me, I had like 3 points, not in any particular order, but I think the first one that I wanted to emphasize is self-care, particularly because, you know, we're still in the midst of a pandemic. And I think self-care looks different for everyone. Everyone does things that helps to calm them down. But I think, you know, and it goes back to what Dr. V mentioned earlier, waking up in the morning, right? For me, I read a motto that goes, your day starts by making your bed. So it's the little things that you do in the morning that really set you up for the day that's to come. And so when it comes to self-care, one of the things that I learned in a program over the summer was called a grounding exercise. And it's kind of like a meditation exercise, but essentially you wake up in the morning and you kind of just sit there and you reflect on your thoughts. How do you feel? What are your goals for the day? Just describe how you feel in like 2 or 3 words. And it's a time for you to reflect, take a few minutes to reflect on how you woke up, how you feel, and really settle your thoughts, because you're gonna find that as we go on through the semester, you're gonna wake up thinking about homework, you're gonna have dreams about an essay, you're gonna have just work on your mind. And so this is one of the practices that I've done. And it's hard to be consistent, but when you practice it, it becomes sort of like a habit. And when I've done it, I find myself to be much more relaxed and calm. And it kind of gets me through the day more easily. So that's the one thing I wanted to start off. And especially as new students, try to start thinking of things that, you know, go-tos that you have that really calm you down and make you stress-free, because you're gonna have to come back to that a lot of times throughout the semester, and that's okay. My second piece of advice was, as you already mentioned, was stay actively involved and engaged. And not just like having your cameras on, but really participating in class in a way that shows your interest, because I assume we're all taking classes because we're interested in them, and you're taking these classes to start thinking of your career, what you want to do in life. And now that we're online, professors are starting to pay attention to the students that really do participate, whether it's in the chat, whether it's you know, turning off your mic, turning off your mute button and speaking. I think this is a great way to build in-class connections with your professors and also with students. And then you can also follow up on these conversations in office hours and build relationships. For me, I was taking a Black Studies course, and when I had went to office hours, I didn't know that my professor knew another professor that I took about a year ago. And now it became like this trio of circle of conversations that we had. And so that itself shows you how one comment that you make in class or one conversation leads to an office hour discussion and perhaps a recommendation letter. So now this professor is telling me, if you ever need anything, you can email me. I'm happy to write your recommendation. And so that's just one way of little conversations in class, especially as students are shy. If you have that bravery, that courage to speak up first, you stand out, and you stand out to these professors. Another part of that is to try to be involved with campus clubs. I know it may sound a little less intriguing that we're online to, you know, look for clubs and things to be part of, but you'll find that a lot of these clubs are still very much active. For me, I'm no longer president of a club, only because I have so many responsibilities, but I was president of the SEEK Club. So I'm a SEEK student, education opportunity program. And it really helped me enhance my leadership skills. And so what that can do for you is really, you know, if you run for e-board, run for a leadership position, or just become a regular member, you get to see how you can operate within the virtual world, right? So if you're an e-board member, you have to think about planning events, which can help with your organizational skills, as Monica mentioned, time management, accommodating yourself to your daily schedules. And so that's a good way to really build your leadership skills, especially as new students. And also that builds connections with student life on campus. Evelyn Ortega, I'm sure many of you know her. She's very known on campus for student life. She's a great recommendation to have. She has many connections with the CPDI office and things like that. So really getting involved in clubs that you feel like are interesting to you, not just in your career, but also whether it's an extracurricular activity you like. Getting involved helps you build your leadership skills. And then the last one, piece of advice that I would give is be uncomfortable being uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is, as we all mentioned again, there's so many opportunities that are out there, even in the virtual space. I feel like we tend to think that now that we've gone online, a lot of these opportunities are gone and there's nowhere to be found. But as we've mentioned, you get a bunch of emails, there are a bunch of postings on the Code and Power website. And so really challenging yourself to take that next step. And whether it's emailing back or asking questions about an opportunity, you'd be surprised how many students don't follow up. And so just having the courage to follow up makes you that candidate, makes you the first one at the door for that opportunity. And employers like to see that, because now in a virtual space, if you're taking that initiative, it shows a lot of courage from you. One of the things that I saw was it's called Cuny 90-day upscaling challenge. And that was something new that was introduced, I believe, last semester. And essentially that gives you a chance to take free, I think it's virtually free online courses, and you can build technical skills, whether it's for business, social policy, public policy, things like that. So it's a way for you to enhance your technical skills and build your resume. And these are things that you can, speak on. If you don't have any experiences as an incoming freshman or even a sophomore, these are little things that you can take advantage of, so that when an interview opportunity comes, you can speak of, and you can say, look, even though times are hard, I took this course or I did this, and this allowed me to build on this type of skill. And that itself, even though you don't have a big experience, whether it's job or internship, that initiative shows that you went out of your way to build skills. And so all of those things combined, I think, make you proactive and make you stand out as an online student. So I know that was a lot of information, but I wanted to keep it short and concise. So I really hope that was helpful for all of you.
Gabriel, that was fantastic. I want to thank Katie, Monica, Gabriel. Just a lot of really useful and practical and really good advice. I hope it was helpful for all of you. Among the many things said, taking care of yourself should be right at the top of your list. For each of you, how you do that might look different, but each of our students expressed that point in each in their own way. And I just want to reinforce how important that is. And the other, I guess, that I feel I absolutely want to reinforce is take advantage of opportunities that we offer. It is music to my ears to have them advise you all to open your emails, because a lot of them come from me. So, and I think at times students are like, oh my gosh, another email from that guy. But I promise you, we're only sending you opportunities, things that could be money for you, opportunities for you, internships, workshops, you name it, events. You don't have to say yes to all of it, but please, as all of our student speakers have said, give it a try for some of it. You'll look at it and you're like, gosh, I assume that's really competitive. It could be really hard for me to get. It's often not the case. And it's also the case that you're underestimating yourself in many instances. These things are for you. That is what they are designed for. So I just want to reinforce, I'm glad that each of you, you're each an example of what it can do for you to frankly take advantage of opportunities, but also I'm glad to hear you reinforce it. And so on that front, I'm very pleased to introduce, before we conclude, the director of our fellowships programs and our public service partnerships, Professor Debbie Chang.
Thanks, Andy, and hi, everyone. So I'm Debbie Chang. I'm the Director of Fellowships and Public Service Partnerships at the Colin Powell School. And I'm here to tell you about some opportunities that I hope you'll apply to. So we have a number of fellowship programs that are for students who want to work on social justice issues, who feel that there are a lot of pressing problems out there in the world today and want to do something about it and work in public service. And public service, we broadly mean to be government work or nonprofit organizations. So there are a number of different types of fellowships, and I'm going to share the link to our fellowships website in the chat here. And also, just going to try to share my screen real quickly just to show you what the fellowships website looks like and how you can navigate it. So, trying to do this now. That doesn't seem to be working, right?
No, we're good. I can see.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So this is our website, and if you scroll down a bit, you can see at the very top we have the fellowships annual report, which gives you a sense of what previous fellows, who they were, what they did as part of these fellowship programs. We have a growing number of fellowship programs, so not everything that's offered this year was offered in the past, but you can take a look at the book and just see what previous fellows have done. Now, if you scroll down further, that's when
And folks, have we lost Debbie's audio?
Yeah, I can't hear her. I don't know what happened.
Debbie, I don't know if you can hear us, but we can't hear you.
We lost your audio, Deb.
Yeah, Debbie, we lost your audio. I don't think she could hear us either.
Okay.
Maybe chat her so she can know.
Yeah.
I don't know if she can. I know I'm not looking at the chat when I'm talking, but.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do.
Send her a private message.
Yeah, I did too. I just sent her a message on Slack. I think she's recognized it now. What I'm going to suggest, though, is since we can't hear Debbie, I want to turn it over to Ashif, if you don't mind, to share. So Debbie, well, first off, let me just say this because I think I can say it on behalf of Debbie since we can't hear her. She was showing you their website. They have a phenomenal website. There is a fantastic range of opportunities for all of you who are interested in public service, social justice, racial justice, climate change and sustainability, and a range of other issues. You know, if you have an interest in trying to affect change in our world, which I think many of you do, you'll want to take advantage of the fellowship opportunities. And so check out that link and the opportunities there. And then let me just briefly introduce, if I may, Ashif Hassan. Ashif, is Ashif on here?
Yep, I'm right here.
So Ashif is a partner with Debbie in a lot of their efforts around career and professional development. And Debbie handles the public service side, and Ashif handles the private sector side and corporate partnerships, of which we have many, as well as the development of some new mentoring programs. So Ashif, let me turn it over to you to share a little more about what we're up to.
Yeah, hi everyone. So good to see everyone here. So like Andy mentioned, Debbie and I are the partnerships team at the Dean's office. We also have an intern, Destiny Hornbuckle, who's not here today, but also plays a big role in the work that we do. We provide internship and professional development opportunities to Colin Powell School students. And we also develop partnerships with companies, nonprofits, and government agencies. We're also here in general just to advise students on resources at City College and beyond. So today I want to walk you through our webpage. Hopefully I don't lose audio as I do it, and show you, the bunch of resources that you can take advantage of. So first I'm going to put it into the chat, and then I'll go ahead and try and share screen. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes. Yep.
Yes, great. So the first thing that you're going to see when you look at our webpage is our career handbook. And that's there to offer tips on finding a mentor, searching for internships, networking, help on resumes, cover letters, and a bunch more. And that'll be useful as you're applying for opportunities at City College, connecting with your professors, or searching for internships and jobs in general. Like Dean mentioned in the beginning, there's nothing wrong with not knowing what you want to do. There's a lot of students that find themselves in that same position. Our advice to that is that if you're a current freshman or a sophomore, it's good to stay ahead and start doing research about the fields that you're interested in entering, once you graduate. And for current juniors and seniors, now is the time to start applying and apply to the roles that you'd be interested in. And it doesn't matter which field it is, as long as, you try to look for something that you think will propel you to a career ahead. So take a good look at this handbook. We think you'll find some really good, useful items in here. And as you scroll down, you're going to see a link to our LinkedIn group, the Cohen-Powell School Student Career Opportunities Group. This is where we post any internship and work opportunities that we hear about. And some of these opportunities are available through our partnerships that we've cultivated with specific organizations. We also put resources and tips to assist with career and professional development. So please join. We encourage you to post any opportunities that you come across and to network with other members in the group. And when you keep scrolling, and these are some additional resources that you can take a look at when you have the time. These are some past events that we've recorded and we've posted onto our webpage. And on the right, you'll see some upcoming events that we'll have planned pertaining to professional development. We don't have anything posted now, but that should change in the coming weeks. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see some additional CCNY resources. So this is for CPDI and city tutors, and they can help you prepare your resume, your cover letter, look for internships or jobs, help you apply for graduate school, and so much more. And the link to utilize their resources are right there. The great thing about city tutors as well is that they can actually connect you with a mentor in a field that you're interested in. So as long as you could fill out this form, someone from their office will connect you with some of their partners. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to either Debbie or to me. I'll also post our emails into the chat in case you have any questions. So you can reach out to me if you're interested in corporate world or corporate partnerships, or you can reach out to Debbie if you're interested in public service partnerships or internships.
Right.
And that's all I have.
Sheep, thank you very much. And Debbie, I think Debbie's audio is back. We're just winding down, but I wanted to give Debbie a moment to finish her thoughts.
I'm back, and all I wanted to really say is that there are a number of fellowship opportunities. We encourage you to apply. We do have a big upcoming deadline, which is March 15th. So this gives you about a month and a half to take a look at the different fellowship programs that we offer. Look at the applications, download the applications, see what the requirements are. Some require letters of recommendation, some don't. Some require some essays, so take a look. Contact me or Akasha Solis, our program manager, if you have any questions. We'd be happy to answer any questions. So March 15th is the general deadline for every fellowship, with the exception of the Koch Summer Fellowship. This provides a stipend for a summer internship. The deadline was actually in December, but we are still accepting applications on a rolling basis. So if you're interested in getting a summer internship in government or a nonprofit this summer, and you want to get paid, you want a stipend for that, please apply. Download the Koch Summer Fellowship application and reach out if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Debbie. And on that point about summer internships, I just want to encourage folks to know that, while the pandemic may not be completely behind us by summer, and we may still be doing a lot of things virtually, firms, organizations, nonprofits, government agencies, they're hosting virtual internships. So some might be back in person, lots of them will still be online. And the students that we've talked to who've had those experiences are having good experiences. So it's not the case that you need to put your career and professional development internships, all of that on hold, waiting for all of this to end. Monica is a great example of this, but really all of the students you've heard from, Katie and Gabriel, are as well. All of these opportunities are still there, and we want to help support you. So thank you to all of our speakers this afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I want to wish you well on the start of the semester. Be well, take care, be in touch with us if you run into questions or problems along the way, and have a good first day. Take care.
Thank you all.